For decades, tankers made their way between the Middle East and California's coast. But as of this week, no more are coming.
It made me pause, I think. It gave me pause for a moment because that's a significant milestone that I've not seen or faced in my 27-year career.
With the halt at the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. oil supply gap is here, and Californians could soon face the worst supply crisis in the U.S. And at Chevron's Southern California refinery, we saw it for ourselves. Right now, I'm literally standing on the edge of the Chevron oil refinery right along the El Segundo coast. You see those oil tankers out there? Right now, they're piping crude oil through the water into the refinery. But the only difference, there's not a single gallon of Middle Eastern oil on board. 60% of its crude oil comes from overseas, and critically, 25% of its gasoline and 20% of its jet fuel. And while oil can move freely across most of the U.S., in California, it cannot. The massive web of pipelines carrying crude oil and fuel across state lines can't come into California, in part because of mountain ranges, desert, and of course, politics. That's because of a century-old law, the Jones Act, requiring vessels shipping oil between U.S. ports to be American-owned, crewed, and built, making it cheaper for California to import oil from Asia or the Middle East. The Trump administration has issued a temporary waiver allowing for lenience on the act, but it may be too little too late. So the company's leaning into alternative markets as far away as Brazil and Venezuela.
We've had to be flexible in the locations that we bring crude in from and the types of crudes that we bring in to process.
Not a long-term solution, because without competition from the Middle East, prices could go up. They're actually refining 12 million gallons per day of crude oil. They're doing it behind me here, making critical products like gasoline and jet fuel. That's equivalent to 1/3 of LAX's jet fuel, and enough for 1 in 4 vehicles driving through Southern California. All as plane ticket prices and gas prices keep rising.
It's getting crazy. It's like insane. Like I don't even get full tanks anymore. Economy and spending and groceries and gas and all these things. It definitely weighs heavy. Supply and demand at this point, but it's just unfortunate that we're even in this position to begin with.
Chevron CEO Mike Wirth recently met with the Trump administration and has warned Trump publicly the shock absorbers are being drained out of the system. But while the Trump administration recently acknowledged record high gas prices, they said the U.S. isn't as vulnerable as others.
We're obviously still vulnerable to some extent to global prices, but in the end, I mean, we're more insulated than other countries, even though that's not welcome news to Americans that are paying more at the pump, no doubt about it.
And Californians may be left waiting. Even if the war ends now, the next reliable oil shipment could be months away.